Congratulations, Tech graduates, and congratulations as well to your families, friends, and professors. And thank you, President Alva. Congratulations also on your upcoming retirement. And please let me extend my best wishes to incoming President David Garza. I want also to thank everyone at Tech for your long-standing commitment to building greater understanding and cooperation between the United States and Mexico. Jose Antonio Fernandez, who has headed your Board of Trustees since 2012, also heads the board of the Wilson Center's Mexico Institute in Washington, D.C. And other members of your board have been part of the U.S.-Mexico CEO dialogue. The bond of friendship between our two countries has never been more important than it is today. You know, when I was first asked to offer commencement remarks in the midst of this global pandemic, I have to admit I was hesitant. In this unprecedented time, what can anyone say about the future to the class of 2020? This is certainly not how any of us expected to be celebrating your achievement. I've had the honor and privilege of speaking at a lot of graduations, and there is nothing more inspiring than looking out over a crowd of students standing on the precipice of the rest of their lives. And despite the fact that we cannot be together in person today, I'm no less inspired by you, wherever you are and whatever you're setting out to do. Now, I wish I had the perfect words of wisdom to help you navigate an uncertain future. But the truth is, I don't have the answer. But, class of 2020, you do. So today, instead of following commencement tradition and giving you advice through inspiring platitudes, I want to talk a little bit about why you and your generation inspire me, and why I believe you are so well suited to chart your own paths during this crisis and to help all of us build a better future. So let's start with a little history. We don't have to look much further than the last big economic crisis in 2008 to understand that young people just entering the workforce often pay the biggest price in a recession. And not only does graduating in a recession lead to lost income right out of the gate, it sadly can stick with you for decades. Now, I'm not telling you all of this to give you even more anxiety about what's next. I'm sure you have enough of that already. I'm pointing all of this out to make a very strong point. The needs of young people usually don't get addressed or prioritized the way they should. And this time has to be different in Mexico, the US, and across the world, because we cannot allow your generation to fall through the cracks or carry the scars of this crisis long into the future. So investing in the next generation isn't just the right thing to do, it is smart too. Keeping people safe and healthy and rebuilding our global economy will require new skills, knowledge, creativity, and entrepreneurial spirit, all things that Tech has embedded in you in your education, because Tech cultivates those skills day in and day out. For example, I was delighted to learn about Tech's partnership with Javier Larragoiti Curi, an outstanding young innovator who, after witnessing his father's struggle with diabetes, developed a new way to produce a sugar substitute that could be using waste from corn crops to provide a little bit of sweetness. The ability to communicate, innovate, and do business online has never been more in demand than it is right now. And there has, I don't believe, ever been a generation better equipped to meet this moment than yours. Even before the pandemic, young people were using technology to learn and to teach. At Tech, online programs based on the digital and flexible educational model have brought undergraduate and graduate level courses to tens of thousands of students and made it possible for the entire university to switch almost immediately to online operations when the virus broke out. There's no question that the future of Mexico and the future of our world will be shaped by tech graduates like all of you. So as we grapple with new medical, public health, and information and education needs, we should be creating pathways into the workforce for new graduates who are ready to lead the way forward. Helping your generation gain a foothold in the Mexican and global economy will pay dividends for everyone in the decades to come, including, most importantly, yourselves. Not long ago, I read an article by a writer named Amanda Mull about the impact of the coronavirus on what has been called Generation C, the kids, college students, and young people whose lives will be forever impacted and maybe shaped by this pandemic. She interviewed a medical anthropologist who pointed out that your generation is uniquely suited to lead to some very necessary revolutionary change. Not in spite of your experiences right now, but actually because of them. This pandemic has laid bare some of our biggest social problems, from economic and gender inequalities to xenophobia and racism. But as daunting as these problems are, I think your generation has already proven you're not one to throw up your hands in despair. You are the same generation that dropped everything to help after the 2017 earthquakes. Young people joined search teams looking for survivors in the rubble. You ran donation centers and distributed supplies to those in need. And you helped communities in Mexico recover and rebuild. So your generation will always be remembered for graduating during a pandemic, but you'll also be remembered for the way that you responded to this crisis with resilience and creativity. You know, hundreds of students at Tech in the psychology, medical, and nutrition departments have volunteered their time to offer free phone consultations with community members who are in need of help. Students are also using 3D printers to print PPE for hospitals, and 3 architecture students have built a prototype for a mobile hospital unit designed to maintain a cool temperature in hot climates while controlling the spread of the virus. And the School of Engineering is developing ventilators for hospitals. So there are stories after stories that reflect something I've witnessed over and over again in Mexico. The remarkable talent of young people trained at places like Tech who are working to find innovative solutions to their country's problems, even in the midst of unprecedented time. I've always thought your generation embodied the principle that we can solve more problems together than we ever could alone. That's never been truer than it is right now. This global crisis can either divide us or it can bring us closer together. No one country can end this pandemic alone, just like we can't address climate change or any other urgent threat we face alone. And when it comes to our two countries, I hope that your generation will be the catalyst for a new binational spirit between Americans and Mexicans and our two governments. You have the power to push leaders to work together, not just in times of crisis, but all of the time, to make both of our countries and our world stronger, healthier, safer, and more prosperous. Now that has to start with someone, so why not each of you? But I know that this is not an easy time to graduate and begin your careers, and if any of you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by what you'll be walking into, well, I am familiar with that feeling. I graduated from college in the late 1960s, another tumultuous time. My classmates and I didn't trust government, authority figures, or really anyone over 30. We were asking urgent questions about all kinds of things, like whether women, people of color, religious minorities, and immigrants would ever be treated with dignity and respect. And we were protesting a president who thought he was above the law. So you know, a totally different world. So to top it off, I'd been asked by my classmates to do what I'm doing now, speak at our graduation. I stayed up all night writing and editing, trying to figure out what I could possibly say that would capture the time we were in. It was just hard to put into words, just like now. When I spoke that day of graduation, I shared a story of something that had happened to me the day before. I told the classmates and families and audience gathered that I was talking to a woman who said that she wouldn't want to be me for anything in the world, that she wouldn't want to live today and look ahead to what it is she sees because she's afraid. Well, I thought, fear is always with us, but we just don't have time for it, not now. Over the last 50 years, I've seen just about every response to fear that a person can have, and what I've learned is that we have a choice. Fear can paralyze us or mobilize us. Class of 2020, that's your choice. I'm almost done, but I don't want you to go away empty-handed, so I will leave you with just a few pieces of practical advice. Good friends will get you through even the worst of times, so stay in touch with them. Thank people for what they do for you. And you know what? Even send thank you notes from time to time. Remember, being polite is not the same thing as being politically correct. So learn to treat others as you would want to be treated. Oh yeah, and also learn how to sew on a button. Check the source of everything you read or share, and vote in every single election, not just the presidential ones. Believe in science, including in vaccinations. Wash your hands. And if all else fails, try meditation or yoga or alternate nostril breathing. I did that before 3 debates with Donald Trump, so trust me, it really is a good technique for dealing with stress. Seriously, Google it. Hold on to what you've learned during this challenging period. Is there something that you've been doing just because it brings you joy? Are you painting or gardening or playing an instrument? Well, keep doing it. When you go to the grocery store, do you find yourself treating your neighbors and the people working there with a little extra kindness? we'll keep reaching for that sense of empathy and compassion. Are you staying in touch with your grandparents? Well, as a grandparent, please do that. And figure out ways to help others in your community to be healthier, safer, and more resilient themselves. We need every ounce of your empathy, energy, and activism in the days and months ahead. Yes, I know these are frightening times, but we don't have the luxury of wringing our hands or being daunted by the enormity of the tasks ahead of us. This isn't a time for words, it's a time for actions. And I say not only congratulations to you, I say I'm really counting on you. I can't wait to see how you make your mark on the world. So graduates, go forth and Godspeed.